So my question is really for all three, and it's basically if there is a desire, and in Canada it appears we have a desire, to provide legally regulated cannabis for medicinal and recreational use that does not require smoking because of the adverse effects of smoking, do you think our law should be written to, one, limit cannabis use to non-food items, and two, require clear dosage with a cap?
Sure, thank you for the question. So I'll answer the second part of your question first, if that's all right.
Yep.
So absolutely, there needs to be caps, and obviously we're a vested interest around dosage. But we find that's the single biggest challenge around, the medical community actually prescribing medical cannabis, is there's currently no dose standards. There's no unit of measure for it. So that's first and foremost the most critical piece. As it relates to your first question regarding to the non-food aspect of it, we would agree that that requires further study around that. As Dr. Vandre had alluded to, it is a much more complicated issue as it relates to where that absorption happens, whether it's happening in the mouth or in the stomach. So that the effects of it can be quite different, which we would agree needs some more work.
So I guess I'll just follow up. So your answer to that was, why would we allow food, which is sort of normalizes it and has all these problems?
Yep.
So why not just at this point anyway say not food?
Yeah, the challenge with that comes to more of a policy-related one as it relates to the black market. So you can walk down anywhere here, and
we're talking about the legal market.
Yeah, no, it's a fair point. But if we look at the government's mandate to stamp out the black market, it becomes challenging when the black market can provide a solution that consumers want. My perspective would be to allow for it and heavily regulate it so that food manufacturing standards are spelled out very clearly and then enforced after the fact.
Thank you.
So let's hear from Dr. Skeer and then Dr. Vandre.
It's a complicated question, and I agree to an extent about needing to be careful about black market products that will come about if it is not regulated at the federal level. That said, as a preventionist, I have extreme concerns about edible products, and for many of the reasons that I had said before. And I think if it is at all possible to very tightly restrict the types that are available. So, for example, if you said that you would be able to provide brownies, cookies, and maybe one other thing, but and that opens it up to interpretation potentially, but it doesn't allow for the variety. I think that would be very helpful because then you can closely monitor and control the products that are on the market.
Dr. Vandre, that question, go ahead.
Sure. So I think just from a public health perspective, having alternatives to smoking a drug is important. Smoking things is just not good for you. But again, with regards to the variety, I think the two other panelists have kind of laid it out for you. The challenge is from a medical use perspective, it's much easier to say you can only have a capsule, you can only have a pill. That makes sense because that's how we deliver all other medicine. When we're talking about non-medicinal use, recreational use, there's no mandate that beer not taste good. And people are going to want these products in brownies and cookies and candy have been established. They're on the market already, even though it's a black market. So there's going to be a regulatory challenge in where you draw the line. If you constrain them, if you can, I think that would be better for sure. But I think that there needs to be some research to evaluate this and to actually understand the market push and whether if you offer a legal gel cap alternative, will that in fact eliminate the need or the desire for a brownie? Can you eat your pill and then eat a brownie after? And that might be acceptable to people if it's legal and that's what the law says. But again, I think that there needs to be some kind of investigation into that to some degree.
Okay, just to follow up on that a bit, if in fact we limited edibles to things that are pills or gels or whatever that don't have the attractiveness of the cookies or the things like that, would there not still be a black market for these other kind of products? Are people not going to want to look for those kind of attractive edibles out there?
We don't know the answer to that yet, and so that's the question, right? So pharmacologically, from a drug effect perspective, there should be no difference in the drug effect that you get whether you swallow a pill or eat a brownie. But the brownie is going to taste a lot better and it's a lot more appealing. So if you had to choose between one or the other, you'd eat the brownie every time. But if the brownie was illegal and you could go to 7-Eleven and buy a pill, you might do that.
Pill. Okay. Okay, let's move on to Senator Ahmed.
May I just add something briefly?
Quickly.
In addition to what Dr. Vandrew just said, the more products that are available, the more it normalizes it. So when we tell children, for example, it's okay to drink alcohol as parents, the children are going to, for the most part, because their parents are saying it's okay. It's available. If we say, here, have any kind of product, any kind of edible product that's available to you, people will use it. If regulation says we are going to actually really restrict this, it will send a message in terms of normalization. So yes, there may be products available, but we do not believe that they are good for you, and we don't believe, from a public health perspective, that this is what our country needs.